Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to squad wipe in Apex Legends Season 4. Now, instead of just talking about tips behind the gameplay, I'm going to be breaking down a few examples where I did squad wipe enemy teams, and there are a lot of tips that I'm going to be covering between each breakdown, and there are a few things that you could potentially not be doing, and which is the reason why you're not squad wiping enough. Now, I just want to say I am not a professional player, and all of the clips you guys are about to see are in the last hour of playing Apex Legends. I know some of you guys in the comment section are really harsh on yourselves, saying that you can't squad wipe, you're not good at the game. It's not something you can do every single time, but today I'm going to help you guys as best as possible in order for you guys to have more confidence and hopefully squad wipe on the next game you play in Apex Legends. If you enjoyed today's video, scroll down, leave a like to support the video further, and be sure you're subscribing if you're currently not subscribed to the channel. Now, before I break down these examples, I just want to say that a squad wiping is only possible if you're focusing on one enemy at a time. If you're ever getting focused by two or more enemies, you don't want to attempt squad wiping. You just want to try and retreat from the gunfight, because it's very rare that you'll be able to take out two people at the same time whilst you're being contested. Now, in some occasions you can tear them enemies apart and make it so you're focusing on each enemy, but the only time you'll be able to squad wipe realistically is when enemies aren't grouped together. On most occasions, enemies won't be holding hands, but in the rare occasion that enemies are grouped up together, you really do not want to be involving yourself with that gunfight. So let's go straight into the first example. So as you guys can see, I have taken out the first player and the second player very easily using the Peacekeeper, and the third player is the hardest part for me, and this piece of cover here is my best friend. I'm hugging this piece of cover, and it's the only thing I've got to ensure I'm going to squad wipe this team, but I retreat back into that cover. Now the enemy is pushing me. Now, I made a video a few months ago. If some of you guys have been subscribed to the channel for a while, you would know that video was focused on gaining height in very close situations like this one to be very unpredictable, and in this situation the enemy's only going to be focusing on the left and right side of that cover, as that's where they think I'm going to come from. But in cases like this, you want to be very unpredictable and actually jump onto that piece of cover and then come at the enemy from above. And as you guys can see from this example, the enemy is looking towards the right side of the cover, and I catch the enemy off guard and manage to squad wipe without any problems, and it was the easiest squad wipe in all of these examples. Gun skill can only do so much. In some situations you just need to have a smarter mind than the other person, and providing that the cover is taller than you, when you're in these situations, just be unpredictable and jump on that form of cover and start engaging. Now the second example we're going to be taking a look at is probably the most important example throughout this whole video, as there are two crucial parts I want to talk to you guys about. As you guys can see, I've got a very easy time eliminating this first enemy, but the problem is not that, it's the second enemy chasing me. Now if we pause the video here, as you guys can see, I need to reload and the enemy is already engaging at me. This is the first crucial part. If an enemy is engaging at you from the side of your screen, you always want to jump to cover and then re-engage when you and the enemy are ready. The reason why you don't want to engage in this situation is because by the time you aim your sights at the enemy and start shooting, you could have already been downed, and you're not in a situation where you should be engaging with the enemy. So the closest point of cover and the best point of cover is behind that supply bin. I run to that supply bin as soon as possible, I reload my weapon, and the next time the enemy sees me is when I'm ready to start engaging with them, and it's a situation that they don't usually like. They like shooting at you when you're not ready to engage, so you never want to give them that attention, as it's very easy to fall in the trap of, as soon as an enemy's shooting at you, you go into panic mode, you turn around and you try and shoot at the enemy, but instead it's worth taking the damage, running to cover, and then re-engaging when you're in a better position to do so. Now the second part of this squad wipe is actually a very important part, and it's the shield swap that I do before I start shooting at the last enemy. Now when you're engaging in places that have supply bins, you want to always make sure that they're open, as I'm not sure the possibilities of getting a shield in each crate, but I think it's something like 1 in 3 chance, and it's a very quick way to build up your health going into another gunfight without having to shield up. So I shield swap immediately, and I'm multitasking in this situation. I'm shield swapping whilst focusing on that last enemy, and multitasking is something really important if you want to be able to squad wipe enemies. The second you've downed an enemy, you immediately want to focus your attentions to the next enemy. Instead of looting up or doing something else, you want to be immediately focused on that next gunfight, and being able to shield swap is a very fast way to gain immediate health. Now I actually eliminate this player very easily. I don't even think he lands a shot on me, but I did have that extra health if I needed to do so. Every time you eliminate an enemy with a higher body shield than you, the only time you want to loot up is when you're trying to change body shields with the enemy. Trying to loot fast is also very beneficial. Every time you eliminate an enemy, you want to quickly go to their death box and swap before the other enemies arrive, because you will start getting targeted the second one of their teammates have gone down. So if we take a look at the next squad wipe example, I'm using the same tip that I used from my last squad wipe, where an enemy is trying to target me from a different angle, and if I was to turn around and focus that enemy, I would have gone down 100%, but instead I'm retreating from that gunfight as I know I've got no chance of winning the gunfight, and the enemy is actually in front of me, so I managed to down this enemy very easily. Now the immediate step I do afterward is trying to get in a better position before the last enemy pushes me, and I try to get on top of the stairs. That way, if an enemy is targeting me and I'm actually being dealt more damage than I would like, it's very easy for me to retreat, having a height advantage. When this last enemy approaches me, I know I'm in a better position than they are, and notice when I'm engaging in the gunfight how I'm slowly strafing towards the left side, going to cover whilst I'm dealing damage into the enemy. This is something that a lot of pro players do very well. They strafe towards the cover. That way, when they know they're losing the gunfight, it's much easier to actually get to cover than if you were just exposing yourself without any cover at all. But the two important things we can take from this example is that first initial engagement where we ignored the enemy shooting at us because we knew we had an unlikely chance to engage and win that gunfight. Instead, it was better to run to cover, and it happened to be that the other enemy was right in front of me, so it was a bit lucky that I managed to finish that enemy off. And the second thing we can take is that after eliminating that enemy, I'm immediately looking for a better position when the next enemy arrives, and that is something that's really important. Every time you eliminate an enemy, you want to try and get yourself in a better position. When you eliminate the second enemy, you want to try and find an even better position after that, because you have very little time before other enemies arrive, so understanding your surroundings is very important. So the last example that I'm going to be talking to you guys about is actually very lucky, and there's not much to speak about, but the reason why I wanted to break it down is because I want to show you guys that even if you're in the worst possible situation, you can still come up with something spectacular to clutch up. Now, in the beginning stage of this squad wipe, I bait the enemy into reviving his teammate, and I didn't have any teammates nearby, so this is the only thing I could do. Whilst the enemy was reviving his teammate, that was my chance to push, and the same thing as with the last two examples, the other enemy is shooting at me from the side angle, and in this situation I could only hope for the best, and I ignore that enemy. I focus on the enemy that's reviving. I managed to pick them two enemies off fairly easily because one enemy was very weak, and this last part, this third enemy, was the hardest part, and the only thing I could do in this situation was move around and sort of slide out of the gunfight, and I slid very well because the enemy's punch was completely off the grid, and I managed to eliminate that final enemy in the worst possible situation. And if I show you guys early on, whilst I was shooting these two enemies, I had the third enemy shooting at me, and if someone could predict what would happen in the next 10 seconds, they would never predict that I would come out on top. So what I want you guys to take away from this last example is that even if you're in the worst possible situation, you can sometimes, in the rare occurrences, clutch up. If you're coming against a team that know what they're doing and are potentially pro level, then you probably won't clutch up against them players. But during this video, we've covered a lot of awesome, crucial parts when it comes to 1 vs 3ing or 1 vs 2ing enemies. We spoke about things such as when to actually commit to a full team, only commit when you know you're going to be engaging in 1 vs 1 gunfights. You don't want to be engaging with 2 people or 3 people at the exact same time. We spoke about other things such as the height advantage, different situations where you should and shouldn't commit, and we also spoke about cover, how you can use it to your advantage, body shield swapping, and loads of other awesome things. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope you guys have learned from this video, and the next time you're going against a team, you will probably, hopefully, do much better than you did before watching this video. So thank you all for watching this Apex Legends video. As always, if you learnt from this video and you enjoyed, be sure to scroll down, drop a like to show your support, be sure you're subscribing if you're currently not subscribed to the channel. Thank you all for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new Apex Legends video.